Yeah? Okay, okay, perfect. I'm happy. You know, you tell me when you want me to start. Okay. Hello, everybody. Thanks to be there with me today. We are talking about resilient listening. It's not an invention. It's maybe just the source to coming back on some new challenges in this world. And the main point I was sliding in was to be careful with what was surrounding me in 2017 in some experiment when I was in residency in South France. So this was the beginning of my history. But first, I will a little bit go back in some main point and why I am also um, talking about vibration, surrounding vibration. Because if you remind John Cage experience in anechoic chambers, he was talking about going inside and saying, listening to nothing first, and after a while, 10 minutes, having two different sounds. One was his system brain function, the blood coming in his body, and the second was the beat of his heart. For me, the bees have a similar sound as being animals on this earth, and they are vibrating. I will explain a little bit more about this frequency later. Um, and first, I would like to introduce a little bit of history just to know how all of those little bees are functioning and how the bees society take functions. So first of all, we get at least 10,000 years ago traces from humans with colonies of wild bees in some artificial hives made from hollow logs in Spain, troncos huecos, wooden boxes, pottery vessels, and woven straw in Spanish paya tejida, baskets known as skeps. This collecting of honey was for a long time one of the passion of human activity. To know how bees function, you have to know that they live at least 35 days. And in 35 days, they are architect, nurser, housemate, defender, and pollinator the 5 day before to die. The communication is done by polar points and antenna, and it's only in 1967, sorry, that von Frisch gets the idea to observe the bees. And in 1973, he awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine for his discovery about how is communicating the bees. So it's really recent. It's really like just exactly this year, 50 years ago, that we discover how communicate the bees. And this dance is like um, around. She is like dancing in cycle and sometimes going in zigzag to make reference with distance and position of where to find the best pollen and the best nectar, which is also related to the communication with plants, because plants communicate with the bees to give them some reference to when to come and get the best pollen and nectar in the day. As you maybe know, there is one exception in the hive for one who is living not 35 days, but almost 5 years. And this is the queen. Why the queen is having another circumstance of living is because the royal jelly is determinant to her genetic. And instead of being fed by pollen and nectar and honey, as normal bees or drone are the male, the bees decide to feed one egg with only royal jelly. And this is giving to this queen the determination of her genetic. Then, after being feeding 16 days, the queen get a nuptial flight. This nuptial flight is start to be fertilized by almost 10 or more drones, the male, and then she go back, killing the drones in the flight. That's a little joke. And then she has a spermatech for 5 years, and she is giving every day almost 2,000 eggs for the colony. And on her whole life, she's giving almost 400,000 eggs. The drone are the male. In Spanish, they are called zumbido. So I will just let you see a little bit of how a colony had been carried by human. First, it was these caps I just talked before, Paraterida. This is like the really old stuff as pottery, but this is more old. Then we get also another kind is the top bar hive. This is for the beginner one of the best because you can see by the windows what's happened, and it's more simple because you can access easily the hive to keep your bees safe. Here there is a resume of different bees. You see the traditional scap, the long-throat, the varé, the dadan, and the top bar, TBH, top bar hive. And I mostly use varé and dadan. You will see it on the next photo later about my sonic installation. So we enter now in my process of writing this concept of La Butineuse. It started in a residency in Yale in 2017, and I decided to put just the microphone in front of a hive, and this was really simple, but not so simple because you have to protect you and to be to care really about one bee is going in your pants, and maybe you will dance as well if you don't care. So this approach was really simple. I met a beekeeper, Mathias Berger. He's also a documentarist, and so he invited me to see his hives. And so we went to the hives, and I began to have some good recording of those bees. And I was really surprised to understand that there were really musicians, and as they are in the high level of the season, almost 20,000 bees, I was really starting to follow my instinct to say, okay, this is really an orchestra we cannot reach with human being, but the bees could make this with just a microphone. And so I started working with a German friend. We'll see later what's going on. So after meeting this beekeeper, I started myself to be a beekeeper. Beekeeper was, as musician, really a large question. Why bee? Why I want to do this? And beekeeper in French is apiculteur. It's not the same. Beekeeper is how you accompagne how you follow the bees instead of making them produce product. And this is really interesting because nowadays, maybe you know, there are some really tragic issue for bees, like bees in hunger, feeding by just sugar and with light, with electronic lights, and people taking this as honey on the market. So take care when you go in the market. I do a little bit pedagogy here. If you can go to the beekeeper directly, it's really better. And here you get also in Mexico really specific bee refer to Maya civilization, because they used Meliponies. It's a different type of bees. We get in Europe more buckfast, black bee, and also Carnica. And here in Mexico, it's different. We have the Melipony, and it's a stingless bees, so it's really more safe. And the honey is really more liquid, so maybe you see sometimes the guy not eating the honey but drinking the honey. And this is also one of the Cuba specification. They use only Melipony, and of course they have no winter, so bees are happy all the year, all year long. So this was starting a new process, being a beekeeper. So I started first to understand stuff with Facebook, with YouTube, with one or two masters who were my reference. So you see me here with my first colony. And I use here some Dadan. It was in a little forest in Alsace country, in France, in the Middle East of France, for who know. Um, and after a while, I met my friend Michel Filling, who is an engineer and Arduino developer. And we said, okay, what can we do with these bees? What can we do to get more than recording? So we construct together this little installation you see on the left. There is a microphone on the top, the microphone taking the bees inside, and in front you see some little instrument to capture the data which were taking in the computer and transforming later as MIDI file and sounds for an installation. And I started to be in this work and in this influence of bees. I started also to think, okay, maybe I want to create something with the audience and to develop with audience, mostly some workshop. And so in Strasbourg as well, we developed a workshop to construct the bee house, the hives, and this was so 2 hours workshop where we started first to visit a bee place with the colony, the hives. So listening carefully also about surrounding bees, and we saw that they don't attack us if we are just in the area with no hard gesture or if you are calm. And after this, we constructed the hives, and sometimes people are wanted to keep them home. And this was also the point, is to make a little bit pedagogy about um, how you could refer to the bees and how you could carry them. So the installation started in a writing session in Logelou in Bretagne, in the west of France, in a little village called Penvenant. We went there for a week, started meeting beekeeper, and this was also really feeding the project itself, because we were referencing to circumstance between Bretagne, Alsace, and different part of the world to understand that there is, with the climate change, a little problem of no more water in the middle of the summer. This is really hard now for a beekeeper. Maybe you heard a little bit about it. And here began also stage composition, and I started to read a lot of book to understand what's going on with all these bees and why are they so good architects. So I referred to Mathieu Saladin book Experimentation by Experiment, because for me was also a politic message, as Mathieu described this in his book, and how we can touching people with what message. So I decided to make a kind of monumental installation, like constructing a tower to say maybe we are too much productive in our society, and criticize a little bit this tower to say maybe this tower are tower of destruction and not towers of construction, because we wanted to grab the sky and no more to be in our roots on this earth. Secondly, this installation have to function with empty hives, and if we are in soap production with the hives, this conduct us to a result of empty hives. So this is also a second point. And of course, to replace the bees sound, I used contact speakers, front acoustic speakers, and it makes sense because you have to go really close to the installation to listen to the bees sound and to the sequence with the data, which you will listen to a minute. And the last point about the message was touching all generation with our five senses. So meaning we touch the installation, we can smell the installation because I use some real hives. This was the first plan, the first scratch. Then we see the installation, so we use the eyes, touch, smell, see. We listen when we get the ears close to the installation. And of course, after a while, we go back and invite beekeeper from the region where we are, and we discuss with the audience. Generally, it's family. Children make also some workshop. I will show you. And so we have a taste of the local honey and have a discussion about what nature brings us. So the after Logelou, after Bretagne, I was in Arzoid in the north of France, in Valenciennes. Arzoid was a band, but now it's a studio. It's Arzoid Studio. And Udom Sutamawong is one brilliant uh, engineer in Max MSP and making really amazing programmation. And so we enter slowly into what you saw just before this installation to program it and to have like a little central motor with Arduino. We developed with Michel Filling and Udom. So we had a focus also, and now come the point of sounds, and we discovered that the bees are vibrating between 200 hertz and 300 hertz, and mostly more calm in the nights because they have to economize their energy. This is also the case in winter because maybe you know in winter they are not sleeping. They move slowly from the center to the surrounding cycle to warm, in fact, the center. And the center is, of course, the place of the queen. There is also another time of a different sound is when the queen is moving out of the hive or when she is killed by the society itself because the bees decided that the queen is too old. And then when something like this happens, there are really different sound and you get like little screams of alerts. And this is really interesting because when you talk to a good beekeeper, he can say, yeah, I know when the queen is out or when there is a problem, my colony make a different sound. So beekeeper is also a work, a passion related to sound. So after Artzoid, we started to develop the project itself, and it began to be projects related to the sound itself. And I'll show you what we did. There is no sound. So the idea was to talk a little bit also about smoke. Smoke is to create an alert to say there is a fire in the bees when a beekeeper open the hives here. So there are some smoke. It's more an effect you will see in the night with some nice lights. So here I write touching the hives, smell the hives, see the hives, and at the end have some good taste of honey because every honey has a different taste. This is also really interesting. And this installation was done in Alsace, and then we were invited in Corsica, and I decided not to take my hives with, and we worked with local beekeeper, and so it's a little bit more little, and but it's really nice, and it was with a sea of an overview on the sea. Here in the Corsica, we started to develop also some workshop with children. I will just show you and explain you after what we did. Okay, maybe you didn't listen to this, but it's Little Kazoo. And this little kazoo was the point to let the children be some little bees and to started to imagine how the bees have to ride in nature because she's riding at least 7 kilometers a day with almost 200 to 1,000 of flowers, visiting a lot of flowers and plants. And then this workshop was related to which sound we met as a bee. So was related to the earth, the sun, the wind, the water with the rain, the storms. And so we imagine for each sound memo technique gesture, and that's why you see this little boy with white hat making some gesture. And so it was kind of workshop also to understand how to communicate with different gesture. And you see at the end they are like little bees dancing, so it's also kind of communication development. Here you can see this installation now in a fair, European fair in Strasbourg. So I was presenting the installation to a lot of people just going across, and everybody. It was really nice because everybody had every time related anecdote of his grandfather, grandmother, or any friend with beekeeper. So it was every time a rich exchange with all the guys and people. Now I invite you to listen to a little creation I prepared for you today. It's 10 minutes. And could you just tell me if it's okay for you? And I will cut my microphone. So this is an octophonic piece related to this installation. So you will listen to different vibrations from bees and from data taking from movement from the bees you saw before. So if it's not too dark in the room, I invite you to close the eyes and to keep cool and take a moment for yourself. So yeah, thanks for listening. Could you hear me back in the audience? So just to finish, welcome in Strasbourg. We have now Hive Place where you can come and see the bees and explore the bees. And of course, follow us on the network, Facebook or Instagram, Studio Labut. We have some open call for that project, but you can also send us just your needs and uh, we will respond to it. These are some references if you want to take some photos of it, um, or I can send you as well. And I have to thanks all the partners and CMMAS for the invitation, and Duncan Phineas to make the link with us. And I'm open for a few questions if you have.
Muchas gracias. Bueno, no tenemos tiempo para preguntas más ahora. Muchísimas gracias. ¿Verdad? Gaspar. Muchísimas gracias, Gaspar. Perdón, no tengo en la mano mi programa. Y bueno, nada, simplemente decirles que tenemos poco, digamos, tenemos que terminar aquí porque a las 3